All right, well, welcome. Is this your first session? You've been to others? In your first session?
One.
All right. Well, welcome. So glad you guys made it up here. This series is sponsored by East Coast Fire and Rescue and Pierce County Aging and Long-Term Care. And Matt is here to facilitate our session for us this morning. He has a wealth of information. I learned something from him every time I sit and listen to us, and it's always a little bit different, but a little bit something more to share every time. So hopefully you got some paper to take notes on. I can bring you some paper if you want. It's gonna be some great stuff for you. We do have a session every second Tuesday through November, I believe, and our locations rotate. So either be here or to be at our headquarters station. And you can find all that information on our website, and I can provide that for you later. It's eastcoastfire.org if you need it. Hopefully everybody got signed in this morning. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? All right, let's go.
Great, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Since we have a small group, as questions come up, you can just raise your hand. We'll go probably no later than 11:30. Might finish a little bit earlier than that. I did bring a paper copy of what's on the PowerPoint, so if you want a paper copy, bring a copy. Otherwise, I think it's available on the website when we're done, right?
It will be.
Okay, yeah. So you could just pull the information off the website. And my name is Matthew Santelli. I work at the County Aging and Disability Resource Center. We're part of your county human services division. So presentations that we give like this are free of charge because they're always offered in the public interest. So if you have a small group, civic group, faith community group, and you want me to give this same talk about scams, fraud, and identity theft, because it's a problem for everybody, happy to do that with some notice. Our email and phone numbers on that flyer card that I gave you. We have some other interesting upcoming events of interest, and I'm going to leave stuff on the table so when you're done, you can grab stuff that might be of interest to you. We are doing in honor of Fall Prevention Awareness Month, which is in September. We're going to do a Fall Prevention Awareness event on Monday, September 22nd from 10 to noon. This is going to be not far from here at the Melcorum Family YMCA. That's the one on South Hill, Puyallup, not far from the South Hill Mall. You don't have to be a YMCA member to attend. You don't have to RSVP. It is free. So you can pick up the flyer on that if you're interested in coming out for that. Then later in September, actually the prior Saturday in September, actually September 20th, this is going to be in Parkland. This is our annual Alzheimer's Disease Dementia Awareness Conference. It's all about Alzheimer's and other dementias. If you might have someone in the family suffering from that, it's a free event. We're going to have breakfast for you. We'll have a light lunch for you. You do have to register for this one, but it goes from 8 a.m. when we open the doors, finishes at 3:30. Lots of great speakers. We'll have some expert panels. We'll have an information fair there with some different vendor resource tables. So that's another one you can grab if you choose. This brochure kind of goes along with fall prevention. It's a nice trifold brochure all about home safety, things to look out for to avoid falling. It's got a personal safety checklist on there. It's got a list of resources on the back. We're also doing a survey about wildfires through the county Department of Emergency Management. So if you want to take this flyer, scan the QR code, you can do a survey about your concerns regarding wildfires. Fortunately, this year so far, it seems like the air quality's not been terrible, but we know in the last few years, we've had air quality problems, locally, very thick smoke in the air, and we've actually had wildfire issues in Pierce County as well over the last few years, not so much this year, knock on wood. So if you want to take this survey, you can take this flyer home with you as well. And anyone that might be providing care as a caregiver, we always want people to know there is caregiver support out there. We have this caregiver support group that meets at Multi-Care Behavioral Health, Good Samaritan Older Adult Services. Again, not far from here on East Pioneer Avenue in Puyallup. So if you know anyone that might need to do some caregiver support among peers, you can grab that flyer as well. Also on the table, I have a couple other program information. I won't go into detail. One on Medicare savings programs, which is an income eligible program so folks can get their Medicare fee premium paid so it doesn't come out of their Social Security check. And we also have an information for those of you who might still be actively working about the Walk Cares program. This is going to pay for your long-term care needs when you retire, if you've been working at least $500 a year since July of 2023. If not, don't worry about it. And then finally, where to turn. This yellow booklet is known as the Where to Turn booklet. It's been published through Senior Media Services, which is a division of Blueprint Community Services. This is potentially the last edition of it because they've chosen not to publish this booklet anymore. So if you want it, it's like a mini phone book of services. I did bring out several copies of this. You might have seen it around town. You might already have one. You might have an older edition. But this is the current edition, that might be the last edition, so you can certainly grab that when we're done as well. Okay, so let's get started on the talk. I've worked at the county coming up on 23 years in the Division of Aging and Disability. So over the lifetime of my work there, I've encountered hundreds, if not thousands, of seniors. And when I started out in the job, we would have some one-off issues with seniors. They would report some sort of scam. It was usually a sweepstakes scam. So 23 years ago, believe it or not, social media wasn't a thing, electronic media wasn't a thing, text messaging really wasn't a thing. Some of us might have had email, but it was very primitive. So in those days, it was all sweepstakes scams that people would fall into. Sometimes it was door-to-door scams people would fall into. Sometimes it was just the telemarketing scams, right? Nowadays, it's much more sophisticated than that because we have so many different methods by which the scammers can approach us. So we'll talk about some of the different methods they use and some of the different avenues they use to come after us. And we'll talk about the structures that pretty much all the scams follow and how you can easily identify those. And then asking you, as a group, as seniors, to spread the word about that to your friends, okay? Because something you might have gotten on a text message where you might right away say, oh, this is obviously a scam, right? And then your neighbor might get it too. A couple of days later, they might not know it's a scam. So the more you talk about it with one another, the more we'll avoid becoming victims, because it's much easier to prevent a scam than it is to recover from one. And we'll talk about recovery a little bit, but we really want to walk away today understanding the key features of what pretty much every scam approach looks like and how they follow through on it to get you to willfully, in many cases, hand over your money to them. This is the real tragedy, because more often than not, it's someone on the personal level handing over money to a scammer. We can't really control the bigger pieces, right? We all read about United Airlines got hacked or the Veterans Administration got hacked and your information might have been exposed. Not much we can do about that. You need to advocate to your federal representatives about that and say, where's the security on that? Because just think about our phone lines, right? These are federally regulated telecommunication systems, right? And we get text messages all day that are scams, right? How many got that phony text message about you got a toll that you owe, a road toll, or a bridge toll, right? Everybody got that. Why are we all getting that, right? Obviously, someone has set up a criminal enterprise where they just blast out these text messages from a phone number that come to a device where we pay taxes to control safety on those devices, right? What's happening there? The same with the US mail. Why do we get so many telemarketing scams? How many have gotten those mail scams? How many have gotten that postcard that says, here's your house, I'll buy it, right? We've all probably got that as homeowners, right? The one time I had a senior who wanted to respond to that, we called the number, they were gonna offer him, assuming it was a legitimate offer, about a third of the value of his house, okay? Now, that was a big chunk of money, but it was a $400,000 value house on Zillow, and they were offering him about $180,000, assuming it was legit, and it may not have been. So we're going to talk about how to recognize the avenues of the scams, but more importantly, the structures of the scams, okay? And again, just raise your hand if you have a question. So we talked about some public events and programs we have going on. We're going to talk a little bit about safety at home, because home safety often is the important aspect of avoiding scams and fraud. We'll take a quick quiz, a portion of a quiz actually, to test our skills a little bit. We're going to want you to know when you walk away today, knowing the targets of scams, fraud, and identity theft, the importance of protecting your personal information, understanding how scammers work on basis of OAR, opportunity, availability, and response, common methods that the crooks use, sweetheart scams and how those work, understanding and avoiding online scams and computer safety and how to recover if you're a victim. Now, I'm not a computer safety expert, and the presentation has more detail on that than I'm going to provide when I'm talking today. But it's important information you can grab on there, and we'll touch on it a little bit so you have a pretty good idea of the safety measures you need to take at home for your computers. Okay, so before we get started, this is an email I got the other day. This came into my county email. Now, our county email has pretty robust firewalls and computer protection. Even so, this one got through. This came from Mary Jane Roberto. And this is what Mrs. Roberto wrote to me. I am Mrs. Mary Jane Roberto, who lives in Abidjan, Costa d'Ivoire, where that is. I'm a sick widow writing from her hospital bed. I have a donation fund of, and then in parentheses, $3,500,000 US. I want to donate this money with your help, my help, to charitable foundations, schools, churches, widows, propagating the word of God in your country. Not as soon as I receive your reply confirming your acceptance for work as I ordered, I want you to use 70% of this money for orphanages, school, church, and widows, propagation of the word and other humanitarian works. The remaining 30% should be yours, mine, for my efforts as her new beneficiary. I will provide you with all the useful information that will authorize the release and transfer of the money to you as my representative duly designated. Please assure me that you will take action, consequences I stated here, hoping to receive one from you soon. Answer, remain blessed in the Lord, your sister in Christ, Mrs. Mary Jane Roberto. So, show of hands, how many think I should respond positively to Mrs. Roberto's offer? Great, the pattern sustains itself. No one yet has raised their hand and said I should respond to Mrs. Roberto, right? So this is progress. Because back in the day, people were falling for these scams, right? This is one, we got that one, I'm a Nigerian prince and my money's frozen, I need to transfer it to the US, right? So this is progress that you all quickly recognize it's a scam. So what elements stood out for you guys? Anyone willing to offer why it's a scam? What
She's
came
on
up?
her deathbed, you think person on their deathbed would be that eloquent in their speech?
Very good. With all the other concerns she has, and she's obviously very well off with all this money, why is she writing to me, right? Anything else stand out that it's a scam?
Sounds like she's trying to Cote d'Ivoire, which would be in Africa, but it sounds like that wasn't spelled correctly.
Yeah, I didn't bother to look it up. It was so confusing to me. Abidjan, Costa d'Ivoire, so apparently there is a country like that somewhere. Yeah, Ivory Coast potentially. So we laugh, right? We laugh and think this is really fun. But I watched a National Geographic Channel a documentary about a similar scam, where this gentleman was gotten an email saying that he was coming into an inheritance, and the money was coming from an attorney unit in Milan, Italy. The man was an Italian. What he knew, he wasn't even in touch with any European ancestry. Okay, he responded. And he actually took a plane, he flew to Africa first, a country in Africa, I think it was Kenya, where he met some gentlemen there who took him up to a hotel room, gave him a suitcase and said, okay, all the documents you need to claim this money is in the suitcase, and you just need to take it to this address in Milan. Well, he goes to the airport, of course, the suitcase is lined with various opiates, heroin and things like that. He's in a prison now in Kenya, and he's in that prison with 5 other older American gentlemen. They all fell for the same scam. Now again, you would think, everybody knows, right? Everybody knows these are scams, right? Not everybody knows. So again, that's why I want you to walk away with a further awareness of the scams and how they're structured. Because this sounds crazy, right? It just sounds crazy. But you might have a neighbor or a friend or a family member that don't realize or don't want to recognize that it's a scam. So this is where that community conversation really has to come into play, okay? So safety at home. Always want to think about lighting around entryways at your house. I'm assuming many of you, not all of you, live in a house, so you want lighting, right? Lock doors and windows, especially in the summertime. Have a peephole in your front door, okay? I'm a short guy, ours is a little high, so I have a little step stool there so I can see out my peephole. But we got a monitored doorbell now, so we can monitor who's at our front door. Does anyone else have one of those? Know what I'm talking about? You can actually see wherever you are on your phone who's at your front door. Especially important now, we kind of become a package delivery society since COVID, right? Everybody gets packages delivered, medications, clothing, whatever the case might be. So you know if it's a legit delivery or if it's somebody going door to door with some kind of a scam, okay? Those are really nice to have. Safety, burglar, smoke, carbon monoxide alarms, motor vehicle safety. okay? This is the last good number I had. This is November of 2024. 258 motor vehicles stolen across Pierce County in that month. That's a good number compared to where we were a short couple of years ago when it was closer to 1,000 a month. It got as high as 3,000 a month. And we all saw the news about Kias and Hyundais, other model cars that are easily stolen, where someone could smash the window and just shove a screwdriver into the key hole and boom, you start the car. The whole preponderance of crime we had, in my view, was due to this stolen vehicle problem. Because no one's gonna smash through the front window of a grocery store in their own car, right? But they'll be happy to do it in a stolen car. And they would smash into that store, drive it a few feet, steal another car, and they're gone. So this is a good sign that this number is coming down. It's still far too high. Even so, always encourage you, don't store anything of value in that car. Don't leave luggage in your car when you're traveling, okay? Make sure it's secure. Don't drive around with full U-Haul rental trucks when you're traveling, okay? You have to make sure that truck is secure. You gotta go destination to destination. We've all seen the stories. Person's moving from another area to Tacoma, Seattle. They park that truck. I'm gonna pull everything into the house tomorrow. What happens overnight? The truck gets stolen and all the contents get stolen, right? We've seen this happen over and over and over again. Don't use your car for any kind of valuable storage, okay? Lock car doors and closed windows. Garage door openers are an entryway to your house. So don't leave them in your car for an extended period of time. We've had many seniors tell us they went to an event, the Puyallup Fair is a real target for this. Park their car in one of those lots, they're with their grandkids, whatever the case might be, they're all day long, come back to the car, windows smashed, garage door openers gone, they had their registration in the car, the crooks know where they live, take the garage door opener to their house, open the garage door and burglarize their house. We've had more than one report about that. So again, don't leave it in your car for an extended period of time. Never leave the motor running without you locked in the car, okay? It's easy to do. We pull into the driveway. Oh, I forgot my cell phone. I'm just gonna leave the car running, run inside. The crooks are watching. They're watching your neighborhood. They're watching you run into that convenience store. Don't leave the motor running unless you're locked in the car. And finally, this is a scam that's happening in the community. Stepping out of your car at the scene of an accident because someone's bumped you from behind. These are bump and steal scams. Sometimes they're gonna knock you over, steal your wallet, your purse. Sometimes they're gonna knock you down, grab your keys and steal your car. So what you need to do is stay in the car and go to a safe public place and call 911, okay? And they'll probably follow you, but that's what you need to do. Now, if they're gonna stick a gun in your face, surrender the car. I'm not telling you that, but don't immediately get out because someone's bumped you from behind. Again, these are guys in stolen cars that are gonna do this criminal act. You guys have heard this one, I'm assuming, right? So you gotta be very thoughtful about that, especially the women when you're traveling, especially at nighttime. For safety, don't do that. And pretty much every parking lot across Pierce County is subject to vagrants, right? And they're gonna sneak up behind you, they're very sneaky. So one thing that we've heard reports of what they'll do is, especially for the ladies, you know, you got your purse slung around your shoulder, you're putting groceries in the trunk of your car, they come behind you, knock you down, steal that purse. Sometimes they'll wait till you're in the car, you unlock the car, you put the purse on the passenger side, they're gonna sneak up, open that passenger's door and steal your purse, okay? So ask for help out, let someone follow you out and put your groceries in your car. Only shop for groceries with a friend in daylight time, not after hours. And please, I'm talking about this as a county employee, knowing all the benefit programs that are out there. Please do not engage those vagrants in a conversation. They don't need money for housing, they don't need money for food. Every day in this county, there's public housing available for people in different shelters. There's food available through food banks. There's all kinds of things we can offer them. And you handing them money is only gonna feed whatever problem they already have. And talking to them, engaging them, puts you at risk as well. So don't do that, okay? Has anybody been accosted in a parking lot recently? It happens all the time. Sometimes they'll be performing in a parking lot. There's one guy in the Westgate Shopping Center in North Tacoma where I live. He's playing like an amplified violin and people give him money. He's a fake, okay? And this is a minor thing, but he's a fake. And the way I know he's a fake is because my wife has played some violin, and we were watching him one day, and my wife said, the notes coming out of that amplified speaker are not the notes he's playing on the violin. I said, really, honey? She goes, yeah. I said, huh. Let's drive up behind him. This is my wife. Let's drive up behind him, honk the horn, and see what happens. So we very silently drove up behind him, honked the horn. Sure enough, he turned around, he took the bow from the violin, and the music was still playing. And we posted this on our neighborhood community social media site. Oh my gosh, people said, no, he's a talented musician. I know him. It's like, no, he's not. He's just there performing, looking for money, and not actually doing anything. Okay, so again, be mindful of that. They know what they're doing. Okay, they know how to elicit sympathy. They might have a dog with them, whatever the case might be. But truly, we have plenty of programs to help them if they need that help. Okay. All right, next. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our ability to avoid scams, fraud, and identity theft. We're not going to go through every one of these, but you can quiz yourself from I never do this to I always do this. I want to emphasize a couple of things that really stand out for me on this quiz. Number 5, under destroying sensitive personal information, and I'm skipping around on this just for purposes of time. I use a crosscut, shredder, fireplace, or wood stove to destroy pre-approved credit card offers, bank and brokerage statements, pay stubs, tax records, etc. Yes, please have a shredder at home. Everybody should have one by now. They're cheap. Please get one that cross-cuts into squares or diamonds rather than into strips. You want to have as much as your information impossible to read as you possibly can, okay? Anything that has identifying information on there, run it through and shred it. Even if it just has your name and address, run it through and shred it. Now, oftentimes my wife gets catalogs, we rip that page off, make sure there's not a completed order form in there. Sometimes there is. Shred all that, the rest goes into recycle. But please shred it or burn it, okay, for safety's sake. Different standards on how long you could keep bank records. We keep a lot of them for tracking purposes. You don't have to. You should talk to your bank about what that's needed, and your IRS or financial accountant, whoever that might be. But if it's going to go out into recycle, make sure no identifying information on there. Shred that portion of it, okay? Also, mail theft, a big problem, okay? A big problem, especially in areas of the county where your mailbox is on the street and your house is not visible to the mailbox, right? This is a huge problem across the county. So certainly do not put outgoing mail in any mailboxes, especially the ones that sit out on the street. Also, number 9 there, I place outgoing mail in a secure collection box along the road or at the post office, not in an unsecured home mailbox or rural route mailbox along the highway. I would say this one's already out of date. I do not believe any box sitting out on the street is secure anymore. And I'll tell you why. We've had incidences in North Tacoma, Proctor Street area is a nice little neighborhood area, very low crime, feels very safe. But on multiple occasions, the blue box sitting in front of the post office has been stolen from its concrete supports. It's basically in the middle of the night, people drive up to it in a truck, hook up a chain, steal the whole box off the concrete supports, okay? So sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not there, and that's why, okay? Another story, as you go into Old Town Tacoma, there's the Spar Tavern there, then you can go down to Johnny's Seafood, very busy, public area, a lot of activity. Blue mailbox there, was there, and then disappeared. And I called the post office about that, and I said, can you tell me what's going on there? The postmaster security person called me back and said, we had reports of a gentleman prior to pickup every week on certain days. He would drive up, he would open the door of the box, he would stick what looked like a fishing pole in there, and he would pull mail out. So he had some sort of adhesive device where he could steal mail, and that's why that blue box disappeared. So it's an extra step and extra time, but I always mail outgoing mail in the building. I go into the building, put it in the mail slot, and that's it. I never mail from the blue box, okay? And again, that's a felony. That's a federal offense to tamper with US mail, but it happens because the crooks are so bold, they don't really care. So things that we thought were secure, we have to think differently about them. So my advice is, don't use those blue mail.
In the post office, you can go in, but it's not always, they don't always have people in there working.
Exactly, so I always mail knowing that it's an open day and they're gonna be sending that mail out that day. So the last pickup at the Proctor Street on Saturdays is 3, during the week, I think it's like 5:30. So I always make sure I go in, mail it on the day I know it's gonna be outgoing, and there's people there, that's what I do. So different ones are handled differently, yes, but if it's in the building, it's gonna be far more secure than if it's out on the street.
They probably have cameras in there as well.
Yeah, they should have some pretty robust security. Even so, I'm sure that thefts happen there too. This is the other lesson about the talk today. We can't get to 100% feeling of safety. There's always going to be vulnerabilities. We're just trying to limit our exposure. So that's one way to limit your exposure, to mail in the building rather than at the blue box. Okay, so you can go to the rest of that on a different time. It kind of takes you through different things you're doing and how safe it truly is. It's a lot about credit card and debit card safety. Personally, I use credit cards. I don't use debit cards. My wife uses debit cards. The concern there, of course, is a debit card accesses a bank account versus credit card accessing a credit line. Again, it's your personal preference. Everything we do nowadays that's a major purchase typically is going to require extending a credit card or a debit card, right? If you want to fly, if you want to rent a car, if you want to reserve a hotel room, you can't pay by check for these things anymore. Back in the day, cash and checks were king, right? That's how I grew up. Very few things you would pay with a credit card. Now everything's credit or debit, even groceries. I mean, just think of McDonald's, Subway. You could swipe and pay with a credit card. That was unheard of when I was growing up. I remember the first time my dad's garden shop in University Place, where he talked to someone about getting a credit card processing machine, which was this super duper heavy piece of machinery. People are laughing, they remember this, right? And it had this super heavy, big plastic arm on it, and you had to crank it across, and you'd get like a triplicate copy of the credit card, the person would sign, you'd send it off, they would pay you later. It's crazy how much it's changed. I mean, you would describe this to your kids or grandkids, and they'd say, oh, no way. It's like, yeah, that's how we used to do it back in the day. And normally, in your community, you'd pay by a check if you were known and a reliable person. Otherwise, you'd pay by cash, right? Now, everything's electronic. When was the last time anyone where you've gone locally, a grocery store, a restaurant, when was the last time you showed them a credit card and they asked to verify your identity? Does it happen? No. And they're going to slowly phase out, and it's already happening, signature identity, right? How many times have you paid recently and they've asked for signature? It's becoming less and less frequent because signature identity is completely worthless, right? It has no way of identifying who you are. So that's why they're not even doing that anymore, because we all swipe at the grocery store. We don't sign anything. We just swipe and we're down the road. We swipe, more and more that's happening. So we live in that world. There's no way escaping living in that world. Because many places anymore, because of theft, do not even accept cash. There's many restaurants in downtown Tacoma that do not accept cash. Emerald Downs, cashless except for betting. Tacoma Rainiers, Cheney Stadium, completely cashless. Everything from parking to concessions, cashless. So that's the world we live in, okay? We can't escape from that. We just want to make sure on our personal day-to-day level, we're as careful with that information as possible. That doesn't mean that your credit card might still not get hacked, but it's not going to be hacked because of something you did or didn't do. It's going to be because someone hacked into a system that has your identifying information. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. So let's jump ahead to.
But in general, the desired answer for each one of those is that you do it all the time.
Exactly, yeah. You want to try to think about maximizing your protection of your personal information. That's what's within our control. Yes.
I've heard say, is it safer to use the tap and go instead of the swiping or putting your card in?
So what have you heard on that, on the tap and go versus the other?
Well, like with swipes, sometimes it can be phony swipes and stuff, especially like at gas stations. But
Yeah.
the tap and go is safer because it's just proximity.
Yeah.
And it's more sophisticated.
So I think when they rolled out cards that have the chip, that was all designed for the tap and go because it reads the chip rather than reading the strip on there. And yes, when we've seen fraudulent scam attachments to ATM machines and swiping at gas stations as well, it's because they've added some sort of attachment to that where it's secondarily reading your card when you swipe. So yeah, I don't think they could do right now, at least, I don't think they could tap and steal that the same way they could otherwise. Basically and this is what I typically do. When I go to the gas station terminal or to any ATM, and I try not to use ATMs outside of the ones attached to my bank. What they've done is they've added like a shell that goes over that ATM slot, and it has like a card reader in there. So one thing I always do when I approach those gas station terminals or an ATM, I always grab onto it and try to move it around a little bit, pound on it a little bit to see if it moves. Because if it's something that's been slid on there, it's gonna slip off or you're gonna see that it's moving, okay? If you see that, don't use it, report it to the bank. But they do have those types of readers that go over where your slot goes in. So did you have a question?
Well, I was gonna mention, my daughter told me that she's got it where she taps her phone onto the reader.
Yeah.
And it works that way.
Yeah.
So that's even more safe.
Yeah,
I
so
haven't tried
this
it.
is a world I don't inhabit. I'm old fashioned that way, so I wish I had better advice. But apparently, like my godchildren are 21 now. Apparently, they deposit their banks, the checks we send them for gifts, they deposit from their phone.
The reason why it's safer is because it's a rolling number, so even if it gets hacked and they get the number, as soon as you use, because your credit card number stays the
Yeah.
same, but if you use like Google Pay or Apple, it's a
Oh,
revolving
it's
number.
okay, it's
so
constantly evolving, so they can't catch it because it would be worthless once it's used.
Yes.
Okay, so you taught me something I didn't know. Because this is the new world we're in, that I'm like, what do you mean you deposited the check with your phone? And then my second question is, well, why did it take you a week to deposit it then? If you didn't even have to go to the bank, so, but those are other issues. Anyway,
Ma'am,
yes.
are you gonna talk about things that help protect your cards?
So yeah, so what do you got there that you purchased?
So this is what I put my cards in. I have two of them in my purse, my work one and my personal one, and this has all my cards in it, because when you're talking about proximity, people can be close to you and still tap
Yeah.
you, basically, you don't even know it. They can access your cards in your purse and your wallet. So this helps protect a little bit more. They can't get through this device.
Yeah, that's nice. They have other devices like that. They also have purses.
Nothing's on Amazon.
Yeah, they have like purses and handbags that you can get that are lined, so nothing can penetrate them to kind of see what's in there. So yeah, Amazon, you can get those things pretty safely. In general, we're finding that our phones are very convenient, credit cards, all these things, but they are penetrable, okay? There was a scam I read about. This is for a traveler. She was traveling, she met some gentleman, and he's like, oh, give me your phone, I'll airdrop some pictures to you. And they boom, boom, phone. And then he put some sort of malware on her phone by doing that. So please don't hand off your phone to anyone, okay? Unless it's some family member that you're asking to help you with something on there, because all kinds of crazy stuff, this is happening at airports too. People are doing this and getting into trouble. So just be very, very protective of that phone, okay? And I misplaced my phone, my wife's done it too, but don't hand it off to people, okay? Because they can very quickly do a lot of dangerous things on that phone, okay? Okay, main targets of scams and fraud. This is why you're here. 50 years and over age group, half of all fraud victims overall. And the state of Washington tracks reported fraud for seniors and other groups. The reported fraud amount for 2024, I think it was the last year that was current, that I checked on recently, was close to $50 million in the state of Washington alone, where seniors were victimized as victims of fraud, okay? 1/3 of all telemarketing fraud victims. This is an easy one to understand, right? Because again, I'm very old fashioned. I don't inhabit this world that my son grew up in, my godchildren are growing up in. But it makes sense, because the more you're feeling a little uncertain on things, the more you can be scammed, right? And the telemarketing is because we answer our phones, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. We're the generation that answers their phones, right? And their front doors, and checks their mail, and responds to their email, and their text messages. That's one of the reasons we're in so much vulnerability, because we're old-fashioned, courteous, friendly, polite people, right? Got to learn to not be that way so much. 25 years and under age group, next largest group of all fraud victims overall. Because of this, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, that's why they're such easy targets. They share far too much information on there. They reveal too much information about themselves. Many of them aspire to be what's known as a social media influencer. So they're just tracking their lives 24 hours a day, posting where they are, what they're doing, on and on and on. That information gets shared, and they become targets as a result of that. So we took a trip to Boston recently. My son was there at a research conference, so we met him like halfway through the week and spent another few days afterwards. And so my wife wasn't feeling well one day, so my son and I took a walk down along Boston Harbor. There's a beautiful park there called Christopher Columbus Park. It has a view of the water. So we're walking along, and I'm seeing these young ladies like posing, dancing, all this singing. And, their poor boyfriends are there with videoing them. And I'm like, I told my son, I said, what the hell is that about? He goes, oh, they're influencers. They're like live streaming their visit to Boston, and that's how they get clicks on their TikTok channel. So this is what they're doing, right? So for those of you who like to take photos, who doesn't, of their travels, their events, their dinners, whatever the case might be, my advice to you and to anyone is post them after you're done, okay? Not while you're doing it. So if you got a trip planned to Hawaii, don't tell everybody on your social media about your trip planning. Tell some close friends. When you're back, then post your photos, right? Because you don't need people to know when you're in Hawaii that for the next 10 days, you're gonna be in Hawaii, right? Because a bad actor is gonna say, hey, they're not home, they're in Hawaii. And they could come to your house. And we've had stories here in the Northwest where people came home from trips and there was some squatter living in their house. One lady said she came home and there was some guy in her bathtub because he had found out through social media she was gone. So he broke into her house and was basically living there when she was gone, okay? So be very careful about how much information you put out on social media. And that's why the young people get in trouble, okay? All right, normalizing it. Any of us could fall victim to a scam. Anybody can, any age. Doesn't mean you're stupid, it doesn't mean you're incompetent or demented or anything. It just means this is the world we live in. It's hard to convince seniors that that's criminals not going to be coming up to you, apart from the examples we gave, with a gun in their hand asking you for money. They're going to be the slickest, friendliest, most capable person you've ever spoke to, and they're going to be there to help you win something or solve a problem or whatever the case they'll be, because they've told you you've got good news or you've got bad news. That's the basic structure. Bad news, the IRS is after you. Social Security has frozen your checks. There's a toll you owe, on and on and on. Or good news, like Mrs. Roberto, you won this prize. I'm going to offer you this money. Look at all these great things I'm going to do for you. That's the basic structure. There's bad news, and this person's going to help you get out of it. Or there's good news, and this person's going to help you claim the money, claim the prize, whatever the case might be. Yes.
Is that in the same line as people that tell you you need to get this thing to lock up so that they can't take your house?
So this is a great question. This is that title lock where those commercials are about. So in Pierce County, you can always check your title status.
Like when you get your bill?
Yeah, you can go on any, this is the good and the bad news about your question. On any day, you can go on the county assessor treasurer's office. You just have to click and say, I understand I'm using this for my own purposes. And then you could search any property in the county, find out who owns it, if they've paid their taxes, what their tax rate is, when it was last sold, what's the assessed value. That's all public knowledge.
And they tell people that? They give the people the information?
It's all public on the computer. So if you want to look up your neighbor's situation, you shouldn't, because I'm not telling you to, but if you did, you can find out all this information about her. Now, the good news is you can find it out about you. You can read on there who's the taxpayer that they have on record. You can jump from there to recorded documents and say who's on the title. If there was somebody that was filing a title, a takeover, you could see that. So this is one of those things where you could do a little bit of due diligence and check it. I don't know about title lock. I know my wife has LifeLock. It does send her alerts periodically of things happening, but it doesn't catch everything either. So that's I don't know how quality they are. I don't think they're necessarily negative, but I don't know how positive they are in terms of you spending money on it, whether it's reliable enough. You'd have to do more research on that. We haven't heard in Pierce County of these title transfer cases. Basically what they're doing is they're developing some quitclaim documents, they're forging your signature, and they're transferring the title to them. More often than not, what we're seeing is that the crooks will review those public records. They will find seniors who haven't paid their taxes, and then they will approach them and say, hey, we see you're behind in your taxes, we'll catch you up, just sign this document so you get to keep living in your house. In some cases, it's legit in that it's a legal remedy where they'll do what's known as a life estate. Someone else takes the title with the agreement that you keep living there. But in most cases, it's just a title transfer scam. And we do have seniors that do get in trouble with their property taxes, and the county is required to foreclose after 3 years of non-payment. So if you have friends or family you know are in trouble with that, please contact us, because we have tax exemption programs, we have tax deferral programs, and we will help them get out of that trouble. But this is another example, those public records, it's good that you can look up your information, it's bad that any crook can look it up as well.
Could you repeat that part about looking it up, the county auditor, was it?
Assessor treasurer. Assessor treasurer. So when I used to do the county work from the county desk, if we were getting a call, we would often get a call from the assessor treasurer's office and say, hey, we're trying to get this senior caught up on their taxes. We've sent them the exemption documents. They don't seem to be able to figure it out. So what we would do then is we would go visit that senior and say, hey, we can get you on this exemption program. We can reduce the taxes you owe. We can defer the remainder and keep you in your house, okay? So we can do that for them if you call that number and you know you have a friend or family member struggling with that. They raised the property tax household income limit last year to $64,000 a year. Plus they've added a bunch of deductions. So potentially you could have a friend, family member, a neighbor who hasn't been paying the taxes because they're so high. We could potentially go back 3 years and reduce them dramatically and defer what's owed. So there's programs to help people with that. Most seniors get in trouble, don't know that. That's why they're in trouble. And then the scammers approach them and then they hand over title.
Does it show if there's a lien against your home that you're unaware of?
I think you would go to recorded documents, you could find that there's a lien there too. Yes.
My husband and I rent, and we use that assessor's thing too. When we're looking at a property to rent, we go and see, is the information that we're getting from the person renting, does it match
Yes,
up? And
yes.
are they paying their taxes? And we use it that way. I think that's legal.
Absolutely. See, this is another example why it's a good thing to have, because we have had circumstances here in Pierce County where people will see an ad, usually on Craigslist or something, a room for rent, home for rent, great deal. They will meet somebody there, and that person is portraying themselves as the landlord, a homeowner, whatever the case might be, and they're simply a scammer. And so they'll take the person on a tour of the house and say, okay, give me the deposit, you can move in tomorrow. Person shows up tomorrow, there's a family living there. Well, you didn't talk to us, who did you talk to? They talked to some scammer. So yes, you can use it in that way as well.
And
We're safe.
when we're done with today's session, if you want, I can pull that website up and you can see what it looks like up here. I use it for work because we have people call us wanting some of the services that we provide to our residents, but they have to be a resident of our district. So I'll go to see who they're paying their fire taxes to. So I'll show you how you can figure that out.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's part of the public records we're required to show. And again, this is why it gets difficult for us to find out things like, well, how do they know I'm living at my address so they could send me that postcard? That's how they know. It's all public record, and that's why we all get those postcards. I'll buy your house, right? It's got a picture of it. They can get a picture of your house from Google Photos. It's amazing how much exposure we have and don't even know it, right? Because it's all there, okay? Scam victims are more likely to be targeted again, just because they are in that role where they're not suspicious enough and not skeptical enough. We'll talk a little bit more about that. This is the pattern too, when we talk about good news, bad news. Scammers often take that good news, bad news to say, you have to decide right now. You have to take care of this problem with me on the phone right now. You have to respond to this email and text message right now to claim the prize or to get out of trouble. So that split-second decision, that pressure is where your judgment goes. And again, we want to be talking to one another and sharing. I got this text, I got this email, I got this phone call. What's this about? Oh, I got that one the other day. I saw in the news, it's a scam, right? So this is why you really have to have that community conversation. And scammers can actually become part of the daily life of the victim. So we've had multiple situations in Pierce County where over the phone, seniors are convinced they were scammed. Okay, I got scammed. Well, now the FBI is investigating and I'm part of it. You know, they're gonna figure this out for me. It's also part of the scam. So we've had seniors be part of these much bigger scams. We had one lady that fell into a money mule scam where basically it was the FBI telling her, we're gonna use your bank account to transfer funds and track them. And it was a scam. These were scammers stealing funds from one person's account in another state, putting them in this woman's account for safekeeping, drawing out a portion of it, moving it along to another account. She thought it was the FBI. It was not the FBI. There's another story I'll tell about that as well. Okay, how can scams and fraud result in identity theft? So it's the little pieces they grab where potentially they could build a whole identity for you. Most of the time it's gonna be they grabbed a piece here or there, they've used your credit card, your bank card, whatever the case might be, or you've wired them some money, it's one-off and it's done. But again, in mostly outside of the things we can control, like a hacking of an organization, that's where an identity theft can happen. So we had a friend who did some volunteer work for the Catholic Church here locally. Their information went to the Seattle Archdiocese for main safekeeping. There was an employee there that was using that information. So that employee was subsequently arrested, but only after that employee and the scam ring she was involved in filed tax returns on other people's names. So my friend did not find this out until she filed her tax return, only to be told, you've already filed and got your refund, okay? So that's an identity theft. That's actually someone filing documents claiming to be you under fraudulent purposes, okay? That's different than someone hacking your bank account, card, credit card, whatever the case might be, okay? But it can happen, and sometimes it's completely out of our control, okay? So that's why we always want to be monitoring our bank statements, our credit card statements, double checking every purchase you made, keeping track of those things. And as we get older, you should really try to limit how much credit exposure you have. So it's easier for you to follow, and it's easier for you to pick up on something if there's a scam, and you're less vulnerable. So for example, I used to have like a gas station card, a Chevron card, right? And then, you know, Discover Card sends me all these offers for the next 90 days. If you buy gas with your Discover Card, you're gonna get an extra 2% cash back. So I'm like, why do I have this gas card? You know, why am I loyal to this gas company? It doesn't make any sense, right? So over a lifetime, you collect these loyalty cards and you got all this outstanding credit, it makes you more vulnerable, and it's harder to follow as you get older. So start narrowing those things down so it's easier for you to follow. Okay, so this is the big lesson to be learned today. OAR. Seniors and the disabled easily targeted because of opportunity, availability, and response. What do those three things mean? Opportunity. They know that you have reliable sources of income. That is basically the big thing. And you do other things that make you vulnerable to being scammed. So they don't care how much you're getting, a little or a lot. They just know every month that Social Security payment's coming in, every month that pension payment's coming in. You built up a lifetime of savings and investments. They know you got it. That's why they're coming after you. It's like that old joke about there was some bank robber in the 20s and Elliot Ness was after him. I think it was John Dillinger or something. When they grabbed him, they finally asked him, so why do you rob the banks? And he said, well, the banks are where the money is. Made perfect sense to the criminal mind, right? You go to where the money is, that's why you rob banks. No other reason than that. So the same way, that's why they're coming after you, because they know you've got the money. There's some other vulnerabilities as well. They don't care if you have a little or a lot, and like we talked about, they will review public government pages such as real estate records and recorded documents to learn more about you. So again, we're much more vulnerable and exposed than we think we are, because all this public record information is out there. Google Maps is out there, photos, all these things are available to anyone who wants to find them. And then there's also what is known as the dark web. It's basically the internet for criminals. You can't access it, you need special equipment to find it, and that's where they're selling your social security number, your credit card numbers, your bank account numbers. They traffic in all kinds of other horrible things on there. but information is a big part of the dark web. And the FBI and other government investigative agencies are always on there looking, okay? But you can't easily access it, you wouldn't even know it was there, but it's there. It's like, that's why they call it the dark web. It's basically all the dark impulses that people have financially, sex crimes, all these things are happening on the dark web. So despite your best efforts of protecting your information, that material might still get out there. And so you're trying to limit what you're gonna do that's gonna put your information at risk, okay? And not worry so much about the bigger picture, because it's gonna happen. Your bank's gonna get hacked, the IRS is gonna get hacked. It's all gonna get hacked eventually, right? I mean, let's just be honest about it. The scammers are smarter than the security people, all right? They're always gonna be one step ahead and we're always adjusting. But personally, that's where the risk comes, because if you're willfully handing over money to someone who's gonna get you out of trouble because they scared you, or handing over money to someone because they got this great investment deal and you're gonna be rewarded, that money's never gonna come back to you, okay? The likelihood that they'll track down that crook and you'll get your money back is basically zero. So that's what we're talking about today. How do I personally keep myself from falling into these traps where I'm gonna be willfully handing over or sending money to one of these scammers? Okay, availability, again, they're targeting seniors and disabled adults because they know you're typically out of the workforce and more likely to be at home, to answer your door, to answer your phone, to respond to your text messages and emails. They'll come at you through US mail, email, front door visits, text messages, phone calls, whatever the case might be. They come at me on our street. We have a busy street we live on in Tacoma, Orchard Street, constant stream of weirdos coming to our door. It's just inevitable, right? And sometimes it's young women saying, oh, I got in a fight with my boyfriend, he threw me out of the car, can I come in and use your phone? No. Oh, I'm lost, can you show me directions? No. I'm hungry, do you have anything to eat? No. And every time I'll tell them, okay, you sound like you're in distress, stand on the sidewalk and I'll call 911, we'll get some help from you. Has any one of them ever stood on the sidewalk while I called 911? No. They're all scammers, okay? They're preying on sympathy, whatever the case might be. So avoid those door-to-door scams, use your Ring doorbell, use your peephole, don't engage people, strangers coming to your door. Only trouble is gonna result from it, okay? And then response. Crooks know that seniors and disabled are typically courteous, polite, thoughtful, and willing to provide a generous response to those who make contact with them. So this is the most difficult one of all, the lesson to be learned. Okay, you know you're a target because the opportunity's there, you have income, right? You know you're a target because you're available, but you're also a target because you respond. So if you're leaving here today and you get a phone call on your cell phone, how many of you will answer the phone? You're getting better, that's good. Because when I started to give this talk, everybody said, of course I answer my phone, why wouldn't I? I think everybody's realizing now it's difficult to screen out the scam calls, although you can get like a spam filter or something on your phone. You can't trust caller ID anymore, okay? Caller ID can be spoofed. And by spoofing means they could put a legitimate number on there, even though they're a scammer or a crook. So it could be your neighbor's number, it could be your daughter's number, it could be your number. I've gotten calls from my own number before on my cell phone. And they can legally do this. There are applications they can get through different telecommunication services where they can legally fake a phone number and call. So last week I got a call from what looked like a Verizon number, and the guy called and said, oh, this is Verizon customer support, and we actually were in process of switching from Verizon to another company, so it sounded legit, but then he started to fumble my name, he fumbled my address. I'm like, okay, this doesn't sound legit. So then he sent me a text message, and the text message had a phone number to click on to call Verizon customer support. Well, the text message phone number was different than the number he had called me from, which was the real Verizon number that he had spoofed. Sure enough, when I looked up the text message number, and you can Google search those numbers that you get calling you, said this is a scam. This is someone pretending to be from Verizon. This callback number is where they're gonna ask for your account information, and that money's gonna be gone, okay? So this is why I say you cannot trust the caller ID, okay? You're gonna either need to get a good spam filter, or you're gonna need to let calls go to voicemail. because it's just not trustworthy anymore. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The other thing, text messages the same way. Most seniors that I know read their text messages, right? I still don't know how the younger generation handles text messages. I'm like, everybody has their phone with them mostly every day, all day. So when I have family members say, well, I didn't see your text, I'm like, how could you not have seen it? No matter what you're doing, if you're at school, if you're at a restaurant, if you're at home, if you're at work, you're gonna know you got a text message, right? So I'm like, how did you not see it, right? Now, this is my old-fashioned 60-year-old brain talking, because this is how we navigate our world. We're courteous, we're responsive, right? We like getting text messages from family members. Oh, look at that. But again, that responsiveness, that responsible attitude is what gets us in trouble, okay? Just think of when we grew up, right? We had two methods of communication at home. We had our front door and we had our phone, right? And typically in my family home growing up, we had a kitchen phone and then we had the parents' phone, right? That was it. And my family's value, as I'm sure most of yours were, if someone's at the door, you answered the door, right? You wouldn't leave someone standing on the porch, right? You wouldn't do that. Same, if someone called, it's like, oh, someone's calling. Someone in the family's getting a call. I don't know if it's for me, but someone in the family's getting a call, so you better answer the phone. We had 6 people in our household, mom, dad, 4 siblings, right? So we all grew up with that culture of you respond to phone calls.
Engine 118, engine 114, engine 111, engine 73, King County engine 361, MSL 118, Medic 118, and Medic 71, channel, Bravo 6, Echo Response Structure Fire, Cedars RV Court, 8425, Pacific Highway East, Unit 28, Battalion Chief 111, engine 124, engine 118, engine 114, engine 111, engine 73, King County engine 361, MSL 118, Medic 118, and Medic 71, channel Bravo 6, Echo Response Structure Fire, Cedars RV Court, 8425, Pacific Highway East, Unit 28, time 10:57.
So let me give you an example of that. Okay. So this is a random text message I got from the 437 area code. This is what it says. The barbecue we ate at last time was delicious. Let's go there together later. Okay. I don't know who this person is. I don't know what a 437 area code is. Okay. Now, traditionally, even in the cell phone culture, you would respond to this and say, hey, you got the wrong person, right? I would encourage you not to respond, because they're trying to set up some sort of dialogue with you, where they'll say, oh, wait a minute, I'm gonna be in town, I've got this great deal for you, have you tried this, that? They want to engage you in a conversation. Now, this first message is probably just a robot program. This isn't a real person who sent this out. They probably have my phone number among many others, and they're sending out a message trying to reel somebody in, okay? Also got one from a friend of mine, John, and it was just very random, saying, hey, how can I get in touch with you better? From his name attached to my text messaging. So I'm like, you got my phone number, what do you mean? How do I, this doesn't make any sense. And so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing that was a scam. Someone had hacked his cell phone and is now sending text messages in his name to me, okay? So if it doesn't look right, you're gonna know it. You're gonna have some feeling, right? This is odd. Call the person, right? Call them. Now, they might not answer if they've been to this class, but call them and say, hey, what's going on? My sister's Facebook Messenger was hacked last year when Taylor Swift was in town. So someone was sending out an offer saying, my sister, Carla, has 4 tickets for Taylor Swift, $1,000, what a great deal. Under her name, it looked like it was coming from her, my wife got it, and I thought, well, that's odd, I can't imagine her buying those tickets. She has grandkids, but she would never take it. But I guess, no, good for her. Now, I should have called her and said, hey, are you sending out these ticket messages? That's not like you. Sure enough, it wasn't her, but sure enough, people that were on her Facebook Messenger list responded and sent money. And out $1,000. And then they called her and were mad. Where's my tickets? She didn't send the message, okay? Anybody should have been smart enough to call her before they sent the money. That money's gone. They're never gonna get that money back. Yes.
Just to show you how sophisticated the texts are, so it was an unknown number, just came up, and it said, "Hi Paula," which is my name.
Yes.
And it says, "How are you? I need a favor from you. Text me back as soon as you get my message. Pastor Sam Schulteis." That's my pastor.
Yes.
So they knew my name, they knew my pastor's name. And I said, "What's up?" It says, "Would you give, would have given you a call, but I'm in a meeting right now. I need to pick the voucher from the store for some patients at the hospital." And it says, "Apple cannot do it now because of my schedule. Can you pick it up from a nearby store? I will reimburse you. Let me know if you can do this for them. Thanks." I go, that doesn't sound.
It sounded odd.
creative.
It sounds odd to me,
So I
right?
called the church
Yeah.
secretary,
Yeah.
and she goes, "No, that's not him."
Yes.
But, and so I was surprised at how sophisticated it is.
Yes, yes. So I'm glad you brought that one up because I got an email from a friend of mine who has a nonprofit. Basically the same structure. It said, "Hey Matt, this is Sherry. I'm in a meeting now. I thought I'd reward the board members with gift cards. Would you mind go picking up these gift cards?" So I was like, this is odd. Why is she emailing me? Why wouldn't she wait till later in the day? This is not an emergency, what's going on here? So sure enough, I called and talked to her support person. She said, "Yeah, we get complaints that this email's going out. No one knows what it's all about." So her email had gotten hacked. So there's another example. It came from her email address and it sounded kind of familiar. It had my name on it and it sounded plausible, but strange, So sure enough, that's the same structure as that one. Somebody addressing you directly saying, "Hey, this is something that you might help me with. It's odd, but there you go." So yeah, good to be skeptical. You did the right thing, call to verify. That's what you need to do. Because if they are getting very sophisticated, like I said. So what I tell people is double check, be skeptical, hang up on people who are talking to you on the phone. You'll know it's a telemarketer right away, right? Because there's usually a little bit of a delay before they start talking to you, okay? Or they're gonna fumble your name, or it's just gonna sound unprofessional, right? Right away, you're gonna know. So don't engage them, don't talk with them, don't do any kind of dialogue with them. The same with those text messages. If it's truly someone trying to contact you, they will try calling you, okay? Don't rely on the text messages to be reliable. Don't rely on the email to be reliable. Don't click on any kind of attachment, embedded link. That one I got from my friend John had like an embedded link here. "Hey, this will help us communicate better." I'm like, this is crazy. Why would I click on this link? Because the more you click on links and things, the more there can go on what's known as malware onto your computer.
Well, I have a complaint.
Yes.
I tried to sign up for this class and I clicked on the link to sign up and it wouldn't do anything. So I kept clicking on it.
Oh,
And then I
no.
gave up. I thought,
There was an issue last week and we discovered it and we fixed it.
Oh,
There
is
was an
that
issue
right?
with our link, and it was resolved, so I'm sorry you went
but
through
I
that.
thought, this was, I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all test on the topic.
There you go. Yeah. We were testing you from the beginning.
Thanks for coming
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So this is a tough one to get past. This feeling of you need to be polite, courteous, willing to listen, right? This is kind of how we all grew up. And again, back in those days, everybody in the household knew someone was getting a call. God forbid you call out for dinner. My dad was called mechanic, right? And you knew all my friends too. "Oh, this is Chuck, this is John, oh God, it's that stupid Greg again," I mean, look at our vulnerability now. We're all dialed in singly, right? And the scammers know that. They can grab you, isolate you, because they're just talking to you. And they're generally gonna say, "Don't tell anyone," right? "Don't tell anyone you're resolving this, don't tell anyone you're claiming the prize," whatever the case might be. That's when they got you, okay? So be ready, be rude, hang up, yell at them. If you're in a parking lot, some beggar comes up to you, scream, yell, say, "Get away from me," whatever you need to do. Don't respond to every email. Just look, if it's not clear, like, what is this? This is crazy. Why is my friend sending me this attachment with a joke on it or something? Just delete it, okay? And call them and say, "Hey, I got this random email from you. What's that about?" Because you would want them to call you, right? So we're kind of back to the future here. We went to this other direction beyond calling one another, and now we're back to calling one another. Now, my fear is a year from now, I'm gonna tell you, well, you can't trust calling one another either because AI is gonna duplicate all our voices and God forbid what happens then. But for now, call one another and double check. That's the best we can do. Just going back to that old fashioned way of communicating.
But they won't answer the phone.
Well, yeah, you're gonna have to leave a message, probably.
There's recycling.
Exactly, yeah, so you're gonna have to leave a voicemail message. Now, you know, my wife and I, sometimes we miss one another, instead I text her, you know, so we're gonna have to get back in the habit of leaving voicemail messages, and that's something most of us don't really do much anymore. I don't listen to our voicemails. Now, in the county where I work, I have to listen to voicemail. And we're required to have our voice on our message. So I have to have a voice message that says, this is Matt Santelli. I'm not available to take your call. Please leave me a message. So I talked to one of these artificial intelligence guys. And I said, okay, with my voice on my voicemail message, could some AI scammer take my voice and duplicate it? He said, in 30 seconds they could duplicate it. I said, so they could duplicate it for any voice rendering they would want. He goes, oh yeah, they could have you call your wife, they could have you call a grocery store, they could have you call a restaurant, they could have you call your bank, and it would sound like you. So that's where we're headed, and I don't have an answer for you yet how we're gonna defend against that. But it's not there yet that I've heard, but that's where we're headed. So it's gonna get harder and harder to defend against these scams. Okay, so we know US mail, all sweepstakes offers are phony. I don't get them. I don't see many seniors getting them anymore. Most of them now are victims of the text or email scams. Again, by phone, we get the telemarketing calls all the time, screen your calls. I keep a landline phone at home attached to the wall just because it's 911 enhanced and I can call and it verifies my location versus your cell phone where it only verifies an area. Even so, we don't have the ringer on because all day long it's telemarketing and scam calls. So if you keep that landline phone at home, just don't answer it, just use it for emergency purposes. The more often we engage the crooks, the more likely we are to become victims because they're sneaky in how they do what they do. So that's why you have to learn to say no without asking permission. If you're on the line with a scammer and you say, I'm gonna hang up now, they're gonna say, wait, don't hang up, right? You just need to hang up. Better yet, don't talk to them because every second you're talking to them, they're tracking that call. So the people that stay on the line with them are the ones who are gonna keep getting the calls. Just like when the sweepstakes scams were so prominent, the seniors who would respond and send money to claim a prize would get more and more sweepstakes offers, okay? It's an endless cycle like that. So just don't engage them, don't respond to the text messages. And that one last night from my friend John, I thought, well, I haven't talked to him for a while, but I haven't changed my number. So this is obviously a scam. I haven't called him yet, but I need to call him and say, hey, someone's hacked into your phone. I don't know what the remedy to that is. We'll have to call his phone service, I guess. It's okay to speak rudely to a crook. Do not apologize to them. Be loud, be proud, say, get away from me, quit bothering me, whatever the case might be. And stop and think a moment and share with a friend, a family member, someone you trust before acting out of fear, worry, or urgency. And then call a trusted friend or neighbor for guidance. You may need to leave a message so they can call you back, but please, the more you share it, the more right away they're gonna say, oh yeah, I got that silly toll, I owe that toll money call the other day, or oh yeah, I got that silly social security frozen account call, or yeah, I got that stupid text message too. Just forget about it, ignore it. Or if you get something more complicated, like Mrs. Roberto's call, your friend's gonna read this and say, this is garbage, no one's offering me this money, who is this woman, you know? She probably doesn't even exist. They're gonna dismiss it right away. And that's why when the scammers got you, they're gonna say, don't tell anyone. Don't tell any friends, family members, it's just between the two of us, you know? You don't want them all to know you won this prize. You don't want them all to know you're in trouble with the IRS, right? You know, so they're gonna try to isolate you singly or as a couple, so you're not sharing information, okay? All right, so recent examples, I mentioned that money mule scam, that woman got caught up in that, and that was a big deal because the FDIC banking regulators, if you get caught in a money mule scam, you are banned from using the banking system. So she can no longer open a bank account, and she can say, well, I was scammed, I was this and that. Well, the fact of the matter is, she willfully shared her bank account with these people. She saw the deposits coming in, and she didn't report it to anybody. So she's debanked now.
How,
Yeah.
how is she gonna live in our electronic
It's a
society?
good question. The other problem with that is she's got 2 civil lawsuits against her now from people who were scammed and into whose bank account their scammed money was deposited. So she's not criminally investigated now because it's clear that she wasn't willfully engaging in a scam, but she became a conduit for stolen funds. And so there you go. She's in a lot of trouble. Grandchild in trouble phone call. Has anyone gotten this one where they call and say, hey, grandma, grandpa, I'm in trouble. And then the trick there is they hope that you'll give up the name of the grandchild. Oh, is this Joey? Is this Jeannie? Or what's going on? Oh yeah, it's Jeannie. I need your help. I'm in the hospital. I'm in jail. I got pulled over, whatever the case might be. And then they try to convince you to transfer money to them. It's a scam. Okay. Charitable donations. This is another big one. No charity, in my view, should be constantly soliciting funds, okay? They should be solid enough in their community that you want to give money to them without them begging you for it. So if you get those calls, a lot of these current events, wildfires, floods, you'll get calls, donate to this fund. Please check and see if they're registered with the Secretary of State in Washington State. Now, they may be out of state, even so, if they're soliciting funds in our state, they have to be registered. Registered means they've been checked out, and at least 70 cents of every dollar you give them goes to the charitable cause, okay? A lot of them, zero goes to the charitable cause. All they're doing is raising money for whoever's raising the money. Computer screen freeze and lock scams, okay? This happened to us the other day. Your computer screen freezes up. You might get a pop-up box that says security breach. There might be flashing lights, sirens. We got this one the other day. And the computer was locked until my wife did it. She did Control-Alt-Delete or Control-C to unlock the screen, and then it unlocked. But the pop-up said, computer security breach, call this number to unfreeze your computer, okay? That number obviously is a scam. So there's some malware on your computer that got on there somewhere, some website you visited or some other activity, and we have some pretty good security on our computer. This came on there. So we had a woman that fell prey to this one. So as it goes, the computer screen freezes or locks. You're told to call a number, speak to an expert to secure your computer. The scam then proceeds to convince you to transfer money to a secure account or to give money to crooks who show up at your front door claiming to be from the FDIC or FBI. This whole scenario happened to a woman in Graham. Computer froze up. She called the number. They unlocked the computer. They said they'd be sending some bank agents to their house to investigate further. Guys show up at her house. There's a woman in the car parked on the street who was obviously the lookout for the scammers. They came in. They had all these documents. They had a briefcase. They said, oh yeah, look at all this evidence. Your bank account's been completely breached in addition to your computer, and we believe the neighbors are in on it, and the people in the bank are in on it, so you really can't trust anyone. We're gonna be tapping your phones to make sure nobody's calling. If everybody calls, we're gonna be involved in that. So they isolated her, right? This was all manipulation to isolate her. Over the course of probably 3-4 weeks, she went to the bank each time, took out a cashier's check each time, gave it to them. One time she actually took out cash, gave it to them. So over the course of a month, like $40,000 she gave to them, and then they disappeared. So she finally called the police and said, what happened here? And they said, well, you were a victim of this scam. Now, back in the day, this ended at the phone call, okay? They would take whatever amount of bank account information they would get from her, do the transfer. That's easier to track down. So what's happening is they've actually come into our area, set up these flop houses where guys just hang out all day and wait for a call from the main scammer office and say, okay, you're going to visit this woman's house in Graham. We've told her computer's frozen up. Now you got to do the bank scam. So they're actually coming live to your front door, real people, okay? Yes.
We decided that we were going to change from T-Mobile and we were gonna go to Comcast.
Yeah.
So we went there and the guy was there and he said, I can do whatever you want me, whatever you would like. The sign says it's $25 a month, but you can get this for $20 a month because I am the vice president here, the vice person. And so I can do that. And I said, well, I have 2 sons and me that's on our phone. I can give you my son's phone number that's here and you can transfer his right now. And then I'll give you mine, but my son in California is coming in a couple of weeks and he is going to transfer his phone then. So anyway, they had to give me an extra number because my son wasn't here yet. So I was supposed to get the phones for $20 a month for 2 years. Well, then when I had to go in to get my other son, he wanted a phone. But the guy, they wouldn't take any cash, so they had to take my debit card. So they took my debit card and my debit card got lost. It was in my car when I was cleaning it one day, I found it. Well, meanwhile, they have took my new debit card and they can use it. And my bill was supposed to be $20 a month for each one of my sons, and I was gonna get mine for free. My first bill was $259. They didn't tell me that there was this thing that each phone had to be transferred over, and it was $25 for each phone. Well, they did 4 phones because my son, then they charged me for those 4 phones for like 2 or 3 months, and I kept calling this number, and there was no answer. Finally, my son went with me because he's much more smarter than I am. And they are still using my new debit card. And how did they even get that number? And they are charging way more than what the guy promised. And they kept the extra phone on there for 2 or 3 extra months. Finally, and there was a charge for my one son for having extra stuff that you use on your phone. But they said you could use all you wanted to for that $20. So the guy came out, the manager then came out and he said, oh, well, we're charging that on all the phones. We're charging that on 1 or 2 of the phones. Well, come to find out, my one son in California, he went to get something else on his phone. They made him sign a contract, but I didn't sign a contract.
Yeah.
Can I get out of this thing, or
So that's
why are they lying?
Yeah, so this sounds like, this happens a lot too, just a retail outlet not providing you with the complete picture of the expenses and things that are going on.
Correct.
So yes, what you can do is you can go on the Washington State Secretary of State's office. They have a consumer protection division. And for anything that's actually where there's like a retail exchange like that, you can tell them what happened and they will take a look at it to see what's going on there.
Okay,
That's what I would say.
so it won't do me any good to go to another phone company to try to talk to somebody that might actually have a brain.
Well, certainly you can pursue other avenues, but I think the first thing you should do is talk to
place.
them to see if this is something more that they're aware of that's going on.
And sometimes now too, with the cell phone companies, they have those authorized retailers, so you're not actually dealing with like Verizon
Yeah.
specifically or T-Mobile. So if you go to an actual T-Mobile store, then they are the one you're dealing with, maybe talk with them too.
Exactly, yeah. So
But
it's
those
good.
authorized retailers are not representing the actual company.
They could have like a franchise that's like a phone store, but it's not.
They gave me the
Online.
paperwork for like 4 months. And the guy goes, the best I can do for you is $85 a month, which it was supposed to be $40 a month plus some taxes.
Yeah.
And he said it was gonna be 85, and I said, did I sign a contract? I don't remember doing that. And I said, and why was his phone still on there for like 3 months? And my phone bills were $259, and they were a couple $100 another time and another time. Even if you lose your card and you get another card, can they still get into your?
That's beyond me too. I'm not sure how.
Oh, the bank would issue a separate number for them.
Yeah, that's a little unusual.
And they would cancel your old card, so even if they tried to do this.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because that's the one I
Yeah,
had
for
given.
anything like this, you know, that we hear complaints of this in the county all the time, heating and cooling system providers, or water heater companies, a lot of these, they upsell, they deceptively kind of lock you into contracts and things. So I always encourage people, go on the Secretary of State's website for Washington State, Consumer Protection Line, and talk to them because they may have already heard about this from other sources. Good way to get
Okay,
started.
thank you.
Yeah. Sweetheart scams, we get a lot of people caught up in these as well. Had a gentleman who lived in, heading out in Puyallup, it's like 220th Meridian there, he's passed away since, but he had a big portrait of this beautiful woman in a flight attendant outfit. When I was visiting him one day, he showed it to me, I said, well, who's she? He said, well, she's like a Bulgarian flight attendant, and I love, she's gonna come get married. I'm like, what? He goes, I said, what's the deal here? How did you find her? Well, she sent me a photo on email or whatever, I got this, and so that's how we pulled up the photo. What was a scam? Okay, so again, people don't realize in this computer world that if I go ahead on various open source sites, this means anyone can grab these images. I can look up gentleman in uniform and can show me a handsome guy in a military uniform. I can look up handsome firefighter. I can get a handsome guy with a firefighter outfit. I can look up beautiful flight attendant. I can get those photos. Those are free photos anybody can use. So if I had the ability at the time, this has been a few years ago, you can actually search, you can screen capture that photo and search and see if it's an open source photo. Most seniors have no idea this happens. They think, well, somebody sent me a photo, it's obviously a photo of them. No, it's just any photo anybody can grab on any worldwide database. Plus, she doesn't exist, okay? No one's sending those emails. It's all computerized. It's all boom, boom, boom. These are like AI kind of based communication programs. So he could dialogue with her for months and it's not a real person. It's just bouncing back based on keywords and questions he's asking. It's bouncing back. So ultimately the scam is, well, we're in love now. And by the way, my visa expired. Can you send me $200 for a new visa? And then, oh, by the way, my contract, they won't let me out of it. Can you send me $5,000? So it's all a scam designed to have a person convinced that they're in love with this image, not even a real person, and now they need to help them out. Yes.
Another thing you can do is that there's websites where you can do like reverse image, so you can download, like if you have a friend that won't listen, you can take the picture and download it in there, and it will show you all the places on the internet where it is.
Oh, okay, there you go, yeah, so you've done it.
Yeah, I just don't think you can do reverse.
Okay,
image
yeah,
on
there you
the
go.
picture thing.
Yeah. These ones are very difficult. Again, this is how the scammers operate. This person was willfully sending money to this site. No one was holding a gun to their head, no one was threatening them, they were willfully sending money. So that money's gone, and this person, wherever this computer program was originating from, is probably far away even from the United States. It's probably in Eastern Europe or Africa or somewhere in Asia. So, and again, the seniors I talk to, they just don't understand that. What do you mean it's all fake? It's fake. There's no lieutenant colonel at the Pentagon who's in love with you, right? There's no oil field worker in Riyadh who wants to marry you. I mean, it's just not. And it's especially sad when sometimes it's a shirt-tailed relative, they'll claim on your long-lost niece, nephew, whatever the case might be. It's just horrible. So I would say anytime you hear from a friend, family member, whatever the case, that they met someone online, but they've never actually met them, then it's probably heading in the scam direction. And sometimes they reel them in for quite a long time. It can sometimes be months. My wife had a girlfriend who should have known better, that over a period of months just kept reeling her in, and then boom, the money grab came. But it was several months down the road, so even more reinforcing when it happens that way. Okay, and that's kind of the elements of the sweetheart scams. They build the rapport, gain the trust, establish their relationship and plans for the future, and then boom, the request for money comes in. Okay, walk errors, I'm gonna go into that. Okay, online, there's a whole section in the handout about online safety. What I always tell you is, do the very best you can to ignore any email, any pop-up, anything that comes on your screen. Delete those emails, say no to anything that pops up. There's one notorious one like from Adobe Acrobat, you must update your Adobe Acrobat, say no. If it pops up and says Microsoft Security needs you to verify this or that, just say no. Don't respond to them, and make sure periodically, if you can, find a reliable computer servicing place that can come to your home. And you can call our office to make sure they're legit. Have them make sure that you've got firewalls and all kinds of things protecting you, because that internet connection that you have is 24 hours a day sending information back and forth and you don't even know it. So when you sometimes go to a website and it says, do you accept all settings, do you accept all cookies? It basically means that website is embedding information on your computer. Now it's useful because right away, if you type into your dialog box the name of a restaurant you've been to, it repopulates that for you. You don't even need to type in the whole name, but that's because there's cookies embedded on your computer. But there can also be spyware, malware, keystroke monitors, all kinds of horrible things on your computer. So I'm not a computer expert. There's all kinds of different ways that they can hack your account. They can spoof websites. Sometimes it'll say it's an email from Bank of America. You need to click here to update your account information, or it's from your airline. There's a great deal going on. Click here. I would say across the board, do not click on any email attachment. Just across the board, don't do it, okay? If it's legit, you can go to that website for United Airlines or whoever it might be. So here's an example. My wife was on her Facebook page. There was an ad on the Facebook page. You know, we get ads from, was it Joanne Fabrics was going out of business, I think? Joanne Fabrics, click here. So we were looking for like little shelving to put inside our freezer to organize our stuff in our freezer better. There was a great deal. She clicked on it, put in her credit card information, said it'd be delivered in a week. Well, we passed by, we never got it in 2 weeks. So she called Joanne Fabrics and they said, yeah, that was a scam. That was a fake ad on Facebook. Again, a legitimate website that she clicked on. Sure enough, she called the credit card company. They said, yeah, we were going to contact you because there's like 3 charges we didn't recognize on here for like $10, $12. They had taken her credit card information and were using her credit card. Okay, so she had to cancel that out. So even from pages that look legit, scams can happen. Okay, and that's outside of our control for the most part. So do the very best to visit the sites that are reliable rather than ever taking you to a site from an attachment or a link. That pathway from attachment or link to website is where there's probably going to be trouble, because they could build a page that looks exactly like US Bank's page or Bank of America's page or United Airlines page. Yes.
My husband works for a security company and their IT department randomly tries to they'll send out an email, whether it's for phishing or any of these, to see if any of their employees will fall.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just wondering, I wonder if something could be done for like people, old, like family and friends, so to, like older people that, so they can say, oh, I fell for that, and kind of.
It's like a dummy test, yeah. We do this at the county too. They warn us, you're gonna get these fake emails that if you click on, because we're trained not to, but that's the same kind of method. Yeah, that would be a good thing if we could do things like that, there's more levels of complexity than I completely understand. That's why I don't really dive deep into it, but I know the general rules that I follow. Like I said, if it's a pop-up giving you a warning, just dismiss it. If it's an email saying this is important, click on it, I dismiss it. Because like I'm a Marriott Bonvoy member for hotels. I get those solicitations all the time. Click here for a great free night, pay for 2 deal or whatever. I just ignore it. It might be legit. I just go to their website and kind of see what's on there. That's the way I kind of reliably do it. So that redirecting, the linkage there, that's where you're going to get into the most trouble. Camera hijacking, this is another one that's happened where people say that their cameras on their computers have been hijacked and was filming them. I don't know how legit those are. I know there's people that are really worried about this that actually put a little slip of paper over their camera lens on their computer. You can certainly do that. That's one of the.
Also order, you can order it slides on I got it on Amazon.
Oh, really?
Laptop,
Yeah.
and you just put it on the camera, so you can slide it open when you need the camera. And
Oh, very smart. Okay, yeah. Yeah, if you're worried about being filmed, because there's been scams that especially teenage boys fall into where they'll get an email or text that says, oh, we have filming of you, doing whatever, and then they get blackmailed. There's been others on social media. Again, this is like the sweetheart scams. This is typically attacking young men, teenage boys, where they believe they're in love with some image they've contacted online, and then they start sending photos of themselves. And then that person says, hey, we've got your photos, we're going to reveal these unless you pay us money. There's been these horrible situations where the kids got overwhelmed and killed themselves because they were worried about these new photos being revealed. So again, it's the Wild West out there. We didn't grow up like this. this, right? We didn't grow up like this. We didn't have all these vulnerabilities there. And it's especially frightening with that younger generation when you realize when surveyed, teenagers in the US will say, when surveyed, 70% of them say they have their phone next to their bed, turned on all night long. Now, 70% is probably a low number, right? They probably all have their phones turned on all night long. They shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be communicating with one another. When we grew up, we had school, we had home. And you had a phone, you might go meet your friends, but that was the difference, right? We didn't take school friends home with us in this huge group. But today, they go to school, that school friend group follows them home on social media. So just think of how many bad days we had growing up in high school. We might have been bullied or made fun of. That bullying ended when we went home, right? We had that solace of going home to our family. Now that bullying follows them home, that mockery, ridicule, 24 hours a day. They never escape from it. This is why we have so many kids with mental health problems now, because they can't escape from that peer feedback. And we all know growing up that peer feedback is not always healthy. Most of the time it's not. That's why they're having so many problems.
Is there any other reason why you should not have your cell phone on all night? I live alone. I keep it by my bed in case I have a fall or if I have.
Absolutely, yeah,
I
absolutely.
keep it on,
Yeah.
so I have quick access to it.
Now, when my parents were alive and my wife's parents were alive, we kept our phone ringers on because we were always anticipating there might be an emergency as we got older. Now our son lives in Switzerland, you know, he's got family there with his wife. We don't really have anyone that needs to call us overnight, so we both turn our ringers off overnight. So it's just kind of where your personal situation is.
Yeah.
No teenager should be expecting a call. I mean, there's nothing a teenager is gonna get a crisis call about. That's the problem. You know, they have it on all night and they're responding to text message notices, all this stuff all night long. It's not good for them. But as an adult, we don't have ours on. We have no one in the area that's gonna call us in emergencies. Okay, and then there's fraudulent links, malicious pop-ups. If you get anything that says update this, update your Norton antivirus, say no. And then I mentioned these online extortion scams that happen as well. So again, if you're not sure, don't respond, delete. Text message, you're not sure, don't respond, delete. You pick up the phone, you're not sure who they are, what they want from you, hang up the phone. Someone's at your front door, check it out, you don't know who they are, don't answer, okay? It's just the no, no, no. Learn how to say no and respond in a no fashion. And then all the things you can do for safety, strong passwords, secure internet connections, antivirus, malware program, filters on your computer, avoid clicking on links like we talked about. Don't do any downloads. Be careful about purchasing through social media, like my wife said. Don't post everything online. Be cautious about who you meet online. Designate one person you trust with your passwords, so you'll have them. There's all kinds of layers you can do here. The passwords get very complicated. And I know I get tired of following them. I have a bunch of work and a bunch at home I have to follow. But the default is that, what do they say, 50% of people have like consecutive number passwords or consecutive letter passwords. That's not safe, okay? And a lot of times now they won't even let you do that. The demand is when you do a password, it has to have like a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols, like that. But it does get overwhelming because we didn't grow up in a world of passwords. It's amazing now that we have to memorize passwords, but no one knows phone numbers, right? Right? When we grew up, we all knew every one of our friends' phone numbers. How else? We didn't write them down, we just memorized them. You had a dozen friends and you knew every one of your friends' phone numbers. Now, no one knows phone numbers, but we have to memorize passwords. It's just a strange world. Okay, if you're a victim, first thing, you always need to know the accounts you have. That's why you need an inventory of everything in your purse, wallet, in terms of credit cards, debit cards, all that stuff. Have a list that you have safely locked in a cabinet at home. When you see those fraudulent charges on your accounts, you know right away you can call to the number of the credit card or bank company and get that satisfied, okay? If it's a charge you had nothing to do with, you're not gonna be responsible for paying for it. You just need to let them know as soon as you see it, okay? always contact at the numbers you have from the cards you have. Because you could get a text or a phone call saying, call this other number about your US Bank card. No, you're gonna call the number you have from US Bank on your bank card. They'll probably tell you if it's a hack of some kind, you're gonna need to call the local police non-emergency number. You'll make a police report, they'll give you a case number. You'll never find who's hacked you. You'll never find who scammed you because they're probably not even in the area if they ever were. You can check credit reports for free at annualcreditreport.com. We talked about shredding documents. And the most important thing is, again, know the accounts you have open. If your wallet goes missing or your purse gets stolen, you have that list at home. Go down the list, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cancel all those cards, cancel all those debit cards. Then you'll be safe, okay? You need to act quickly though, because as those charges pile up, they're gonna question, why didn't you do something about it? Okay, so you want to make sure you can react quickly at the phone numbers you have. If you're not sure, go to the bank. So have a local bank that you bank with, not some out-of-state bank. You can go to your grocery store. If you have a grocery store account, Macy's account, whatever the case might be. You can go in and talk to them if you have to. Don't hesitate not to trust if you get a call from someone claiming to be investigating a theft on your behalf, okay? Because you don't know if it's legit or not. Anyone can call, spoof a number and say they're calling from MasterCard or from US Bank. That's another lesson to be learned. Skepticism rules the day. Be skeptical. Okay, so resources. Last page, you can always call us with more questions. Medicare has a specific fraud unit at the state. That's their number. Police, Pierce County Police non-emergency phone number is there. Charitable organizations, you can verify that number. And if you have any questions on programs or services that we offer, this banking association website is very nice. It's banksneveraskthat.com. So they're really trying to get ahead of all these scams that are happening with regards to bank accounts. Banks are not mandatory reporters. So that lady who was drawing that money out every week, if the bank were a mandatory reporter in the state, they would have had to call Adult Protective Services and say, this doesn't look right. But they're not mandatory reporters. It's up to the judgment of the bank whether they're gonna make a report or not. So my view is they should be mandatory reporters, you know, and we would trust that they would report every little thing, but they're not in the state. Other states they are. So that's why this site is really useful. Because again, if you have a friend or family member, you can go on there and say, hey, no, the bank's not asking you to set up some other account or wire money anywhere. That's not gonna happen, right? So you can go on there and find that. It might be one other way to bolster what you're understanding to be a scam that someone else might be involved in. Okay, I think we're at time. Any questions? Anybody? Yes.
So on the Medicare fraud, they have a number on your Medicare summary notice and you call in. Is it good to like also contact the state?
I would, yeah. I know Kim's really responsive. One thing that she does is they not only track the ones happening in the state of Washington, they communicate with the feds as well on it. And then they keep a database of the frauds for presentations they do like this one. So it's always nice to know something you've encountered locally so they can add it to their database and help with the investigation.
Well, in this case, both times that happened on his Medicare number, the entity was out of state. It wasn't.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think they'd like to hear from you regardless on anything like that. They've done presentations for us. It's been really interesting. So, and yeah, that's happening more and more, you know, fraudulent. Again, this is what's so frustrating. They'll set up these phony medical supply companies and things like that. And they'll contact you by phone or by text or by email and say, oh, you got this great deal on this medical equipment, and it never gets delivered because they're billing it out and not sending it to you. Or they'll send it to you and it's a much cheaper version of what you actually ordered, stuff like that.
They've never contacted.
Oh, really?
They use my account to buy hundreds of units of medical,
Durable medical.
Oh my
Medical
gosh.
and filtered it through my social security
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But in the first case,
account, or I mean Medicaid.
the business that they said
Was it-
did this was actual business, but maybe they were in Texas. But the poor business, it's like, they had to put stuff on their website stuff, this is not us, because they like, service people for, breast cancer
Yeah,
treatments or therapies after. And so like, if it was catheters or whatever the heck it was, it's like, maybe seems like that would be something, yeah, like 1,800
Sure, yeah.
catheters, right, sure. And it's like, they're not only abusing his Medicare number, but they're abusing this other legal business.
yeah, absolutely.
Who, it's not them, and then so people think they're the bad guy.
Yeah, we've encountered that in other scam areas where someone's like hijacked a business's bank account, and would start like sending out like reward checks from this business, that were all scam kind of things, and the instruction was send money to this other place. So yeah, that does happen when they'll hijack a business, a legitimate business, and do this fraudulent billing and other kinds of things that they do as well.
I'm gonna stop the recording, but we can still continue conversation, 1 second.